Cheers and welcome my friends, I'm Horath and these are 5 tips for Tyranny combat. I try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. All the gameplay footage is taken out of the first 10 to 20 minutes of the game, so you shouldn't be spoiled at all by watching this. And I try to compile the experiences that I made during my Let's Play series to help other people. So if you found this helpful, please leave a like. If you have any tips of your own, please leave them in the comments. Always interested to do a little bit of theory crafting. And now let's get right to it. One of the most important things to keep in mind when planning your combat strategy is that different abilities have different cooldowns, different amounts of uses. They are generally sort of staggered in terms of their powerfulness, so less powerful abilities have more uses, and the more powerful they become, the less uses they have. Normal abilities like, for example, attacking with my weapon or these normal spells just have a cooldown that is measured in seconds, so you can basically use them unlimited amounts of times in the battle. Then there are more powerful abilities like this combo ability that I have with Verse that I can use once per encounter, so I have to get out of combat again before I can use that again. But it is sort of unlimited. You don't have to do anything other than finish that one fight to be able to use it in the next fight. And then there are even more powerful abilities like the ones that you gain when you increase your loyalty or your fear with a companion. And these have a cooldown of once per rest. Very powerful abilities, but you have to camp to replenish them once you have used them once. So plan accordingly and use these once per rest abilities only in the most difficult fights, or you might be caught with your pants down. The concept of recovery time is paramount in understanding how combat in Tyranny works. At the beginning of combat, you can use any ability that you want. So we're going to use, for example, that fire spell over here. Watch what happens. We're going to go to slow mode.
I got it.
Just so that you can see what we're doing. Look at my icon. I used the spell and now you see this blue bar ticking down. That is my combat recovery time. That is ticking down until I can use the next ability. You see that my enemy also has that blue bar that is ticking down until he can use his ability. Now let's queue up a second spell and see what happens. You can see that the ability is inside this bar.
Will do.
Let's get out of here again. And you see that he is still not able to do anything here. And I killed him without him being able to take more than one swing at my ally. Why is that? You can see that he is wearing heavy armor, whilst I'm wearing very light armor. If you go into the character screen, there is something over here, an hourglass with a number next to it. My recovery time is 4 seconds. There's a base recovery time, and then every weapon has a recovery time of 2.5 seconds. And I have an armor recovery time of 0.5 seconds. How does one arrive at that number? Well, if you look at the equipment screen, you see that I have shoes that add 0.2 seconds to my recovery time. I have gauntlets that add 0.1 seconds, I have a helmet that adds 0.1 seconds, and an armor that adds 0.1 seconds. And then if you go hover over my weapon, you see that they give me 2.5 seconds recovery time. And that is only for using that thing. So the heavier your armor, the longer your character will take until he can get his next ability off. And that has implications for how you should build your characters. If you are a mage that relies on spells, getting off as many spells in as short a time as possible to really get out that burst damage and kill as many enemies as possible before they can really do any damage, like we did over here. We really finished this guy off before he could any damage. Then you want to be your armor as light as possible. You are basically a glass cannon. Whilst on the other hand, if you're a fighter, all you have to do is bind enemies, engage them, stop them from running at the mages, and endure as long as possible. So you want as heavy an armor as possible. That is going to increase your recovery time. The heavier the armor, the more recovery time you get slapped onto your base recovery time. But that doesn't really matter because the fighters do not rely as heavily on the abilities as mages or archers. So for damage dealers, keep recovery times low as you can for your survivability to not be endangered. For melee fighters, stack that armor. And if you are playing a mixed class, then decide what's more important to you, survivability or getting more of those spells off. One important aspect of combat in Tyranny is engagement and disengagement. Just watch out what happens over here. I just stumbled into a fight with my squishy glass cannon mage next to an enemy soldier. And I'm right next to them. And now that they've attacked me, there's a line between the enemy soldier and my mage. And it says in the combat log, Sun Soldier engaged me in melee. Now that is a problem because I won't be able to get out of this melee without taking an opportunity attack or giving the enemy an opportunity attack. Just watch what happens when I move my squishy mage into security here. You can see that I have disengaged written over my character and that the enemy took an attack that gave me 3 piercing damage because I just ran out of that melee engagement. And that mechanic is basically there to stop frontline fighters from ignoring other frontline fighters and going straight for the damage dealers in the second row. That is a double-edged sword. You will try to engage enemy damage dealers, mages and archers, in the second row with your frontline fighters, trying to avoid the frontline fighters of the enemies. But at the same time, if your mages get engaged, it's going to be bad times for them. So watch what happens when we get engaged over here. There is a way to get out of this without actually having to eat a disengagement attack. I'm just waiting for my character to actually be engaged in melee again, because currently we aren't. It will be shown in the log. Let's just see what happens when I move away. I just want to be... Yeah, now I'm engaged in melee again with that character. And now I'm going to use my my charged fist ability that pushes enemies 8 meters away. Just watch out what happens. Just have to wait until the recovery timer ticks down and I can use my next ability. And now you can see that we push the enemy away and that we did not take a disengagement attack. So if your mages or your archers get engaged, either use your crowd control abilities like pushing them away, making them prone or do other stuff, or try to kill them as fast as possible. So your mages and archers, your squishy glass cannons, get back into security. A useful strategy for combat in Tyranny is switching between weapon sets. At the moment I am using my bow, but I also have sword and shield in my first weapon set. Watch out what we can do in battle. We're going to use our bow ability over here, the hard shot, to attack this enemy soldier. I'm going to go to slow mode so that you can see what actually happens. Okay, I shot the guy. And now we're going to switch our weapon set. I'm going to engage this guy in melee with our Sunder ability and strike hard.
On it.
And you can see that as soon as I have recovered, I will be able to use my melee abilities. This is especially useful if you're playing the game solo, so that you can do damage to enemies while they are running up to you. But it is useful for every character who is carrying different weapon sets to take advantage of different combat situations and different weaknesses and strengths of enemies. A mage might carry, for example, different staffs to take advantage of different weaknesses or different spell combo abilities. The pause button is your friend in Tyranny combat. Whenever you see a combat situation coming up to you, press the space key and pause, and then think about your strategy and what you are going to do before you actually charge into the fight. Or if you stumble upon a fight, pause and think what you're going to do next to get out of the situation. For example, in this situation, we see that soldier. I have a character that has a bow weapon set and a melee weapon set. Now when I squeeze through that boulder and appear right next to that character, then I really don't want to be holding the bow. What I want to, if I don't have the strength to actually roll the boulder away, then I want to be wearing my sword and my shield so that I can take out this character, which we're gonna do right now.
I got it.
Just gonna go for fast mode here so that it's over quicker. Come on. One more hit and I think we'll be through with this. I'm gonna go for the thunder once more. And now that we are through this, we shouldn't just charge headlong into this battle. We would be way more valuable if we just switch our weapon set again and sort of take shots at the enemy from behind. So let's do that. Because this enemy is already engaging them, and we can do way more damage with our bow from behind while not taking any damage, which is always a good thing. So whenever you go into battle, think before you act and plan your strategy accordingly. We have a very easy time taking these guys out now, because each of us is working towards a specialty, and that is doubly important when you're playing with companions. And I think that should be it. That guy is bleeding, and we basically won that battle. I'm just gonna switch my abilities now and try to go in for the killing blow, because I do have the thunder ability that I haven't been using yet.
Can't do that.
So that is also an important consideration. Watch which abilities are on cooldown and which abilities are free to use. Use the shift key to queue up a bunch of attacks and save you some micromanagement. If I wanted to rain down as much destruction as I can upon this specific enemy, I press and hold the shift key, then select the first spell that I want to use, then I keep holding and pressing the shift key, click for the second one, and then for the third one. And now watch as we rain destruction upon him. First the lightning. I'm gonna run after him because our spells don't have that much range. Then the frost spell. And then we're gonna use the fire spell.
Seeing an awful lot of red.
You can use that for everyone and save yourself some trouble. Hooray! You made it to the end of the video. If you found any of these tips helpful, please leave a like so that this video can show up in search rankings and help more people. If you want more Tyranny tips, click the link in the description for the Tyranny tips playlist. And if you want to see me play Tyranny in full, then click the link for my Tyranny Let's Play playlist. If you have any tips of your own, if you have questions, anything that you want to tell me, please leave it in the comments, and I hope I see you in one of my videos. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.